Good morning. It is Tuesday morning, and this is our first Tuesday morning live show. I am Christy. I am the proud owner of Acadia Quilting down here in Tickfall, Louisiana. So if you're just finding us for the first time, thank you for joining us. I am so glad you did. I have got about 1 minute to 8, and so I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of minutes to introduce myself. Again, my name is Christy, and I'm the proud owner of Acadia Quilting. We are a full-service long arm quilting destination. You can ship your quilts to us. More information is coming on that. We do block of the month programs, and then I like to do these video tutorials. I've been in the quilt industry for quite a while. I've been a quilter for many, many years, and then I owned a brick and mortar store for 3 years in Missouri. When I relocated to South Louisiana, it was time to redo myself and find a different path. So this is where we're going now, and I'm happy to have you along for the ride. So if you have comments, please drop them in the comment section. I'll do my best to answer them live. There is about a 15-20 second delay, so if you don't get an immediate answer, just know that there is a short delay. And believe me, when you're waiting for an answer, it seems like it's forever. So anyway, I'm happy to have you join. So this morning, we're going to go back to basics. You know, I've been a long arm quilter for years. I have been a quilting instructor for years. I travel and speak at different guild events. And it's a wonderful experience that I really do enjoy. But a lot of times, you know, people see my quilts. This one is one of them. And they think, oh, I can't get those results. I can't get those results. How do you do that? Well, we're going to start with the basics today. And I'm going to kind of go over what I do. And I always talk about this in my guild presentations. And it's just, you got to set the very beginning. And set it right, and then you'll get amazing results. So here's what I tell people, is that quilting is like a three-legged stool. Just like the old piano stools from back in the day, quilting is the same way. It's a three-legged stool. The three-legged stool consists of cutting, pressing, and sewing. And if you do any one of those things incorrectly, you are inevitably going to have issues. So with that said, I'm going to kind of walk through some tips and tricks about all three of those components. So the first thing is cutting. Now, I brought my rotary cutter, and this is the rotary cutter that I prefer to use. And it's a great rotary cutter, but it is a weighted rotary cutter. This is from Creative Grids. It is, again, a weighted rotary cutter. And I like it because it's heavy. There's a lot of weight to it. So when I'm cutting, it's got some oomph to it. And I really do like that. I also change my blade at the start of every project. Now, people think, well, I want to get all the use I can out of that blade. But, you know, when you have a dull blade, it's real easy to make mistakes. And I just tell people that you need to start with a good blade from the very beginning. So change your blade at the start of every project. So that's real important. Now, I have used the Olaf rotary cutters. Love them. I think they're great. I have also used the ergonomical ones from Michelle. They're fine if you need that. I prefer the weighted blade. So that's just the difference. So when it comes to cutting, you want to be sure you're cutting very accurately. So be sure that you square your fabric first. Very important. So you want to use a new blade and a good rotary cutter. You want to square your fabric to start, and you want to be very precise in how you're cutting. And you want to be sure you're cutting it accurately. So that's the way I start with the cutting aspect. If you haven't cut it correctly, it's not going to come together correctly. So that's my first thing. Now, the second piece of that is pressing. Now, with pressing, I learned a lot about pressing after I became a long arm quilter. And the reason why is because a lot of people just get flustered and they just want to get it done. They just want to hurry up. They want to get it done, get it off to the long arm quilter, and let them have it. Okay, and I understand that, and I appreciate it because I've done that too. But here's the thing. If you don't take time to press, well and pressed correctly, then, there's only so much your long armor can do. You're really doing them a disservice by not pressing well. So here are some thoughts on some pressing. So the first thing is the iron I use. This is one of I have probably 5 or 6 of these irons. This is a Black & Decker Classic. I'll set it like this. It's extremely heavy, so it's not for the faint at heart. So if you've got issues with hand strength and weight, that might not be the iron for you. It is the Black & Decker Classic. It does have a steam option, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I buy this on Amazon. I used to get them for like 25 bucks. I think now they're up to 30 or 35. But this is what I use. Now, I put it on the hottest setting it goes. The hottest. So that's very important as well. When I press it, and I press using very hot. Now, people ask me, well, what do you think of steam? I don't use steam. And the only reason why I don't use steam is because I've never had an iron that, 1, didn't leak, and 2, didn't, that water stays in there and it gets rusted and it's just not good. So I prefer to use a spray bottle. If I'm gonna use steam, I'm gonna put it in a spray bottle, like one of these, okay, a fine mist spray bottle, and I'm going to fill it with water, and that's how I'll use my steam, okay? It's not that I'm opposed to steam. I'm not an anti-steam person. I just don't like water on my ironing board. That's just a personal issue for me. I used steam for years. I like steam, but again, it's that I've never found any of them that did not leak. They all leak, no matter what. So use a very good iron. I have spent the money on the real expensive irons. I've burned them up. I can't say one way or the other, but for me, I have found the Black & Decker Classic works the best. The other thing I do when I press is I use a wool mat. Now, this is a small one, and I have all different sizes of wool mats, okay? So this is a small one. It's like 8 inches square. So when I'm pressing, I always use a wool mat. The other thing I do is I finger press first. So whatever way my fabric is going to go, if it is going to be an open seam or if I'm pressing to one side, I finger press it first, put it on the wool mat, and then take my iron and press. We're not squishing, we're pressing. Total different function. Once I have all of that done, I use a starch alternative called Flatter. Now, I like Flatter. I prefer Flatter over Best Press because it lives up to its name. It does make things flatter. However, it does have a higher price point. So I put it in a fine mist spray bottle, one of these. And so I get a lot of life out of it because I'm not spraying like a large amount. I'm just spraying a fine mist over it. And then I press it again. So when I'm pressing my units and my blocks, this is the process I follow. I have my unit, I finger press in the direction it's going, or open the seams. I press it with the iron. A lot of times if I'm doing open seams, I'll even iron it from the back to make sure those seams lay straight. And then I take it and then I spritz it with my Flatter and I press it again. So that's kind of how I do things. It is a little more work, but the results are amazing, okay? So that's huge. Also, you really want to take the time to press and press well, because if you don't, your long armor is going to not really want to do your quilt. Also, if you have seams that are going different directions, one's going left and one's going right, then by all means pick that out, pick those couple stitches out, straighten them up and stitch them back up, because that makes it hard on your long armor when they're quilting. So I have a whole series of things I go over to help your long armor be happy with you, and we'll do those next week. So the next piece of the puzzle is your stitching. One of the hardest things in quilting is getting that 1/4 inch seam. Now, I will tell you, I have had numerous machines in the industry. I own a Baby Lock, a Juki, a Featherweight, a Janome. Currently, those are the 4 machines that I currently own. I have in the past owned an Elna and a Pfaff. All right, all great machines. None of them has had a perfect 1/4 inch seam except one, and that was my Juki. So that machine is the only machine that 1/4 inch is perfect on. Everyone else, I have to set it, and I have to mark it and make sure it's correctly. So how do I do that? There's a couple of ways you can do that. So let me walk you through it. One thing you can do is you can take a ruler and you just drop your needle right on the 1/4 inch line and then put something up against it, like a magnet or a, let's see, a magnet would work, some duct tape would work, something like that to give you an edge, all right, if you don't have a 1/4 inch foot. If you have a 1/4 inch foot, then you need to drop your needle on here and adjust the needle to fit to where it's a 1/4 inch to match your foot, because the foot has a guide, all right? So you want to be sure that guide and the 1/4 inch are lining up to where it is exactly a 1/4 inch. Another trick you can do is just get a regular index card. If you don't want to just drop the needle on acrylic because you don't want to dull your needle, is you can take an index card, shave off the last row of it where you've got a 1/4 inch, because believe it or not, these little blue lines between the index cards that you write on is a perfect 1/4 inch. So then all you do is just drop your needle right through the blue line, and it's the same thing. You can then add duct tape, a magnet, or line it up with your foot. Now, once you have done that, it's real important to keep that consistent 1/4 inch. And to do that, you have to be sure you have some type of an edge or some way that you're following it that fits for you to have the best results. For me, I use my 1/4 inch foot. I line it up and get it lined up correctly to use my 1/4 inch foot. It could also be a magnet. You can buy magnets on Amazon very inexpensively. There's lots of choices that you can do. So just find the best one for you. The challenge with a lot of machines is the drop-in bobbins, because once you set it, if you use duct tape or a magnet, then every time you change the bobbin, you got to start over. That's why I like using my foot. Okay? All right, so that is my tips for this morning. So I want to thank you for joining us. Next week on Tuesday, we're going to go through all the reasons, all the ways to make your long arm quilter love you. And that's real important. So we will be doing these every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. They'll be available on YouTube and Facebook for a replay and whatnot. And it's just a way for me to just keep helping the quilting education and helping you learn more and more about different tips and tricks in the quilting world. So since this was our first one, I thought it'd be good to start with the basics. So thank you for joining and hope you have a great day. We'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.